hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs, and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
Hi, it's Adam here, and you're about to listen to a hypnosis session that actually didn't come from a client session. It actually comes from some material that I've prepared for a talk that I'm doing tomorrow, actually on the golden ages of hypnosis. So I'm going to be a keynote speaker at an event which is the ABH Hypnosis Conference. So it's the American Board of Hypnosis. I'm very honored to be their keynote speaker, and there's going to be lots of other speakers there as well. I'm going to put a link in the description, so if you are a hypnotherapist or you like learning about hypnosis, you can still get tickets to see that event. But what you're about to listen to is something quite different. I'm going to be talking about the fourth golden age of hypnosis, which I believe is right now. And therefore, it makes sense to talk about the three different golden ages. So in terms of a little bit of history, one of the pioneers of hypnosis is Mesmer. That's where the name mesmerism comes from. So we're going to use a bit of metaphor and regression to imagine being in one of the rooms, the Paris salons, where Mesmer's actually doing his animal magnetism. And then we go forwards to the age of science, where Braid, who actually coined the term hypnosis, is actually kind of doing his studies, and then Esdaile actually doing hypnosis in hospitals, actually doing surgery without any anesthetic. And then forward to what many modern day hypnotherapists consider the key influences, and that is people like Milton Erickson and Dave Elman, but also what came from that is NLP, and NLP were inspired by many of the therapists of that time, but Milton Erickson was a real influence that led to some of the hypnotic language patterns, particularly the Milton model that came from that. So I get to weave all of this into a short hypnosis session, and then alluding to how right now someone like me, or if you're a hypnotherapist, you have the ability to have more impact and more reach and access to more science than Mesmer or Erickson or Braid or any of these flag bearers of these golden ages. So if you like hypnosis and want to learn more, check out the link to see the conference. But you might actually get some kind of a mini hypnosis history lesson just by listening to this very short hypnosis session. It's only about 30 minutes long, but that might give you some insight. And if you want to hear my full talk, then certainly join me at the ABH Hypnosis Conference tomorrow. Okay, find a nice, quiet, relaxing place where you're not going to be disturbed, and enjoy. Take a deep breath in. Breathing in that long, deep breath of resourceful relaxation. And as you exhale, feel that wonderful sense of release as your eyes close. Releasing tension in your outward breath. As you breathe in that feeling of pure relaxation, and continue to exhale any stress, worries, or tension of the day. Each breath takes you deeper relaxed. So the deeper you breathe, the more relaxed you become. And the more relaxed you become, the deeper you breathe. And as your body relaxes, your imagination awakens. And I wonder if you could imagine an old yet impressive library. Imagine walking by the books and one catches your attention. An old leather-bound book. The title, fascinating. The Golden Ages of Hypnosis. And nearby you see a comfortable chair, perfect for reading. So you take the book and sink deep into that chair and open the pages. And the first chapter is the first golden age of hypnosis, the age of wonder. And I want you to imagine seeing a picture of an old Parisian salon. The year is the late 1700s. Crystal chandeliers glow above velvet curtains. And I want you to see aristocrats and noble, powerful people in powdered wigs and gowns, waiting with anticipation. And at the center is Franz Anton Mesmer, and in his hand a magnetic wand glimmers as he speaks of unseen forces, animal magnetism, invisible currents flowing through every living thing. And I want you to imagine stepping into the picture in the book and finding yourself there in that grand salon in Paris. And notice how the room feels alive with mystery, curiosity, and wonder. And I want you to get a sense of how charismatic, congruent, how Mesmer believes every word he's saying. And you might even feel mesmerized in that moment. And then imagine stepping into Anton Mesmer. And I want you to feel that congruency, that belief that somehow you have the ability to make wonderful changes by harnessing the power of this animal magnetism. And you realize in this moment, this is hypnosis as fascination, as spectacle, the birth of the hypnotic imagination. And then imagine drifting in your mind forwards in time to the 1800s. And no longer in Paris, find yourself in the second golden age, the age of science. There in Scotland, you can see James Braid peering through the lamplight, coining a new word, hypnosis. And observe Braid as he studies the mind with the eye of a scientist, measuring, defining, seeking to move hypnosis from mystery into science. Step into James Braid's body with all of that scientific knowledge, and then stare into the lamplight, drifting off in your imagination all the way to Calcutta, India, finding yourself in the heat of the day, there in a hospital operating theatre, where you observe James Esdaile preparing for surgery. But there is no chloroform, no gas. Instead, the patient lies deeply calm in hypnotic trance. The surgery commences, and yet no cry, no pain. And around him, surgeons and assistants watch in astonishment, just as royalty were astonished by Mesmer. And you realize this is hypnosis as medicine, as credibility, as science. Imagine leaving that hospital, staring into the Indian skies, staring into a cloud, and then drifting in your imagination forwards in time and in space, and finding yourself in a quiet, intimate therapy room in Phoenix, Arizona, and observe a man in a wheelchair leaning slightly forward, voice calm and deliberate, telling a story that seems simple, but messages and commands are slipping past the conscious mind into something deeper. The client reacts, shifts, transforms, but you are not alone observing. In the corner, two young men, Richard Bandler and John Grinder, taking notes, fascinated, absorbing the genius and patterns and decoding language that will shape NLP. This is hypnosis as artistry, creativity, and therapy. And then step into the body of Milton Erickson, feeling that you are activating and amplifying your creativity, enhancing your ability for powerful, profound metaphor. And then find yourself drifting into a trance-like state where you drift off to a different place, yet around the same time. Perhaps a decade or so earlier, finding yourself in front of a demonstration, and you are surrounded by dentists and doctors, and you see Dave Elman demonstrating a rapid induction where the subject's eyes close in seconds, body deeply relaxed, open to suggestion. And the audience, again, astonished, in the same way that Mesmer's was. But Elman explains that this is not mysterious. This is hypnosis, and it can help with childbirth and surgery and dentistry. And you are observing hypnosis as speed, practicality, and legitimacy. I want you to get a feeling that you're leaving this third golden age and drifting forwards in time to your time. And I want you to get a sense that you have this intuitive insight that you, living in the time where you are now, are capable of reaching more people than Mesmer ever did. And you can access science and studies more accurate and faster than Braid ever could. And while Erickson and Elman could influence rooms full of people, you are able to impact millions. And I want you to get a sense that you are now living in the new golden age of hypnosis. But as you drift back to that library, in the chair, looking at the book, you realize the pages of the fourth golden age are blank, unwritten, waiting to be filled in. And as you hold that thought, find yourself connecting and recalibrating back into your present as you take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. Wiggle your fingers and wiggle your toes, connect and calibrate into the here and the now as I count from 1 to 10 to awaken you. Starting to count. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode of The Hypnotist. And if you've enjoyed today's episode, I would encourage you, if you haven't already, to hit the subscribe button or follow button to make sure that you're automatically notified of any future episodes that I release. Also, by doing that, it lets the algorithm know that you like this show, and that will put it in front of even more people that might not know that this show exists. So that would be helpful for me. And if you like the stuff that I do, take a moment just to have a look in the show notes or the description, because there's lots of free things that I have to offer, including free hypnosis downloads without the intro or the outro like I'm doing now. So thank you again for joining me on today's episode, and I'll see you again soon for the next one.